Well, hello there. I'm Lucas Mangum, and this is my book, Haunted Hearts. It's my newest book. It's a coming of age Halloween novella with emo vibes and a little bit of cozy horror action, which might sound weird if you're used to my usual stuff, which is typically categorized as splatterpunk, but we contain multitudes. I am no exception. And today I'm going to be reading a little bit from Haunted Hearts for your listening pleasure. Okay, so the scene I'm about to read, it's kind of a truncated version of the full scene just because, don't want to take up too much time. But these five youths are about to go to the quarry to hopefully see the floating ghost house that allegedly comes up from the quarry every night at midnight in their weird little town. So. The trail was a steep decline, rocky and somewhat overgrown. The quarry had been closed down some decades ago. There were a number of reasons given. It all depended on who you talked to, what reason was the real reason. If you had a teacher who was interested in local history, interested enough to dedicate a whole week of classes to it, you might be led to believe that a coalition of concerned parents, bolstered by environmental activists, had made a brave stand against the Landry Corporation to preserve an area of land in which kids could be kids and explore nature, a nature allowed to thrive unimpeded by the reach of industrialization. Of course, that didn't explain having a fence around the area, but such questions were discouraged. If you were bold enough to ask your teacher about the fence, you might hear that the place had for a while been a paradise, a Garden of Eden where wilderness and youth frolicked together until one kid died after falling off a cliff, condemning the land. By this point, the Landry Corporation had moved on to other towns with land to exploit, so no one bothered to repeal the preservation bill, and now it just sat, barricaded off, and only explored by the more daring of our county's youth, which of course was all of us. It was a rite of passage. Some of the men my dad drank with gave a different reason altogether. They said a quarry worker died in a nasty fall. This doomed, unnamed victim of an unsafe working environment happened to leave behind a rich widow who sued the shit out of the Landry Corporation, the county, the state, and maybe even God himself. The endless litigation, perpetuated by a woman no one seemed to know, left the quarry fenced in and overgrown for maybe 15, maybe even 20 years. One of my dad's drinking buddies claimed to have worked with the faceless dead man who launched 1,000 lawsuits, even claimed to have laid the grieving widow in subsequent years, but he didn't mention any names. Like most scenarios with multiple parties involved, all with their own special interests, I suspected some of what I heard was true. Some of it was bullshit, and some of it was a little of both. Not much of it really resonated with me, truth be told, nothing except for the third possible reason given for the closure of the quarry. This one was said to originate from Kip Krieger himself, though he didn't seem to want to talk about it whenever anyone asked him. It was the same reason the five of us headed there minutes after midnight on the 1st of October. I wasn't sure haunted was the right word. As we approached the edge of the pit, I felt on edge myself. I so clearly remembered what Pumpkin Ghost and I saw here that night, but we were high and really wanted to see something. What if it never actually happened? I worried about looking stupid in front of Jamie and Kathleen, but mostly in front of Greta. Though she often claimed she believed in the possibilities of the paranormal, she remained skeptical, unlike Pumpkin Ghost, who was a true believer, and me, who was somewhere in the middle. Greta had never been out to the quarry after midnight. She once confided in me that she'd avoided it for so long because she feared it might end up disappointing her. We came out of the woods and reached the precipice. The vast quarry stretched before us, dark and silent. The opposite side, from what I could tell, looked a lot like our side. Shadows made it difficult to see for sure, but it was another steep drop-off near lots of trees. Fucking told you guys, Pumpkin Ghost said. These things are delicate, man. What exactly are we looking for? Kathleen said. Doesn't matter, it's not here. Well, we should at least wait, right? Greta said. Jamie and Kathleen looked to Pumpkin Ghost for answers. He talked like someone who knew what he was talking about, and that made people expect him to know things. I think we should, I said. I mean, we just got here. Maybe we need to open ourselves up. Relax. Do you have any more weed? Greta asked. Pumpkin Ghost shook his head. Yeah, but back at my house. We have some, Jamie said. You guys want to smoke? That wasn't exactly what I had in mind, I said. It might not be a bad idea, though, Greta said. It could set the mood. I don't know. Weed had a tendency to make me panicky and weird. Being in the quarry in the middle of the night, trying to see ghosts with a friend who didn't know I'd fucked his girlfriend, I didn't need much help with that. Come on, Greta said. She took hold of my forearm and gave it a light squeeze. It'll be okay. All right, Jamie said. I'll pack a bowl. As if on command, Kathleen dug a baggie of the good stuff out of her purse's inside zipper compartment. According to Jamie, Kathleen got shit from her cousin in Colorado. They came in the hollowed pages of books, inside toy cars, and once taped inside a ukulele. It was potent stuff, Jamie always testified, which worried me even more. But Greta's hand on me steered my judgment. I couldn't look weak in front of her, not now. I nodded as my sister packed a bowl. When we were all good and high, we sat on the ledge and waited. This is so dumb, Kathleen said and crossed her arms. Jamie elbowed her in the ribs. What? Pumpkin Ghost had a distant look in his eyes as he stared across the chasm. Perhaps he was willing the apparition to show itself, or perhaps he was contemplating confronting Greta and me later, because he suspected something. I hoped it was only the former. Greta let her legs dangle, the only one of us brave enough to do so. I wasn't afraid of heights or anything, I just didn't like the idea of letting any part of me hang over a pit so dark and deep. Anything could be down there. Staring into the inky shadows, I could picture skeletal hands reaching up from the depths, flesh hanging off their fingers with fingers and wrists and desiccated flaps, glowing green eyes staring back at me, unseen gnashing teeth, fiending for teenage flesh like a smoker craves nicotine. Greta had her hands between her knees and an expectant expression on her face. Her dark eyes staring, her auburn hair draped over her shoulders and down her back, her face flushed with intoxication. She looked so fucking cool to me then, enigmatic. Even if Eldritch Youth never went on to do anything, I was confident she would. I suppose Pumpkin Ghost would go on to do things too. His groupies and aspiring rappers who wanted to be him comprised healthy portions of our following. I was only unsure of myself. I didn't have fans. People hardly knew who I was. My stage presence was confined to standing behind my equipment going beep, beep, beep. It didn't matter that my work was the backbone of our compositions, an impressionistic canvas on which the others could express themselves. I needed the others for me to be fully realized. Pumpkin Ghost and Greta could each be fully realized under any circumstances, with anyone providing the space. It didn't need to be me, it only happened to be. Greta was right. Pumpkin Ghost couldn't find out about us. We had to pretend it never happened, even though by then I'd convinced myself it meant so much. I closed my eyes and opened them again when Kathleen screamed.
Hold the book up to the camera.
Thank you.